Hello and Assalamu alaikum. This is Farhan, Mayor for the City of Irvine, and I just wanted to wish you all a very happy Arab American Heritage Month.
Salams to all. Al-Jabbar, trustee for Anaheim Union High School District here. I want to wish all of you a happy Arab American Heritage Month.
Salam guys, my name is Muhammad Jamaluddin. I'm a CRNA and humanitarian. I just want to wish everyone a happy Arab American Heritage Month.
Hey everybody, my name is Chris Ghazala. I go by he, his. I'm a Palestinian American artist from San Francisco. I want to wish everyone a happy Arab American Heritage Month.
Hi everyone, my name is Hassan Al Yaqoubi. I'm the founder of PFH. I just want to wish you all a happy Arab American Heritage Month.
Marhaba, my name is Amina, co-founder and lead designer of Pali Roots, and I just wanted to wish you guys a happy Arab American Heritage Month.
Hey y'all, it's Knack Queens. I wanted to wish you all a happy Arab American Heritage Month.
Hi everyone, my name is Celine Kosini and I want to wish you all a happy Arab American Heritage Month.
Hi everyone, my name is Mary Chalmas. I'm the president of the Lebanese Student Association and the president of the Southwest Asian North African Association, also known as SWANA at Cal State Fullerton, and I would like to wish everyone a happy Arab American Heritage Month.
Hi everyone, my name is Bayan Abdullah and I was a previous fellow with the Arab American Civic Council, and I'm so excited to wish you all a happy Arab American Heritage Month.
Welcome and happy Arab American Heritage Month. My name is Rashad and I'm the founder and executive director of the Arab American Civic Council. Every year, we celebrate this month by hosting an event to highlight our community's contributions to our nation and reflect on our many achievements. Last year, this event was disrupted, and this year we are back, but this time it's virtual. Thank you all, those who have supported us and supported our work over the years. I'm excited to hear from our amazing guests today, Dave, Lara, Amer, and Linda. It's been several years actually that we've been trying to have Linda join us. And thanks to the lockdown and the virtual events, we finally have her with us today. It's such an honor to have everyone. Big thanks to our sponsors for the night, Comerica Bank, Dr. Raymond Jallo, and the many, many donors that have made our work possible. With your support, we can keep building community power in Southern California, whether it's through getting out the Arab American community's vote every election cycle, engaging youth and enhancing their leadership skills, or leading local and national campaigns on issues that impact all of us. Thank you, and I'm going to, with that, I'm going to pass the mic to Jeanine.
Marhaba everybody, welcome everyone. My name is Jeanine Assad and I am the Impact Intern for the Arab American Civic Council this year. This internship encourages students to develop their leadership skills with a community organization, which luckily for me has been the Arab American Civic Council. I am a first-year political science administrative studies major at the University of California, Riverside. And as one of the organizers for this event, I can say that we have an amazing program planned for the night. I'm looking forward to celebrating with all of you, so thank you so much for joining us. Up next, I will pass it to the amazing Jeanine Sharif, who was one of the main planners for this event.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jeanine Sharif, and I am the Transformative Leaders Fellow for the Arab American Civic Council this year. A little bit about myself. I recently graduated from Cal State University of Fullerton with a bachelor's degree in political science. I was involved with the SWANA organization, and I was among the many passionate organizers who wrote the very first and passed the very first resolution for SWANA students. Organizing and planning events is one of my favorite things to do. So this Arab American Heritage Month celebration was really like to test my skills, putting my skills to the test. Thank you all for celebrating with us tonight. Before we begin, I wanted to remind y'all that we will be having an opportunity drawing, which is sponsored by Knack Queens Pie, Eat Chubb's Cookie Butter Cookies, and a signed copy of Linda Sarsour's memoir, We Are Not Here to Be Bystanders. In order to qualify for the opportunity drawing, you'll have to donate to the Arab American Civic Council. There is no minimum. You could donate as much as you can. And the winners will not be announced today. Rather, they will be announced on our Instagram Live on Monday. I have the honor of introducing our very first speaker, who is Dave Serio from the Arab American National Museum, which is based in Dearborn, Michigan. Dave Serio is an education and public programming specialist at the Arab American National Museum. He holds a master's degree in Near Eastern Studies and Arabic from Wayne State University. As an educator and public programmer, Mr. Serio conducts educational presentations and workshops, both in person and online. Mr. Ceria also helps with planning events and implementation of youth programs and cultural events, such as the Sura Arts Academy, which is a youth photography program. On a more personal note, Dave identifies as a third-generation Arab American whose family comes from Lebanon. He dabbles a little bit in the film industry and is a proud cat dad of 2, and it is always up for a good political debate. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you so much, Jeanine, for that really warm introduction. And thank you to everybody at the Arab American Civic Council for having me. And it's really just an honor to be in the presence of such amazing folks who do this type of work at the AACC. And of course, all the amazing presenters that I get to share the virtual space with. So again, happy Arab American Heritage Month to everybody. Also happy holidays, whatever holiday you're celebrating. I think there's a few that are circulating right now and or coming up soon. So happy holidays to those celebrating. So as Jeanine beautifully mentioned, my name is Dave Serio, and I oversee the education department at the one and only Arab American National Museum. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the history of the Arab American community here in the United States. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that technology is a friend to me today. We have been enemies in the past. Okay, here we go. So a little bit about the museum kind of before I get started. So again, the Arab American National Museum is the first and only museum of its kind in the entire country dedicated to telling the history, culture, and contributions of Arab Americans. We were established May 5th, 2005. So we're coming up on our Sweet 16 next month. And in that short amount of time, we've done some really amazing and impressive things. We are a Smithsonian-affiliated institution. We are also accredited by the American Alliance of Museums, which if you're in the museum world, that's a really impressive thing to have. It basically means that our collections and exhibits are all at an A++ standard. And we are also affiliated with Access, which has been around since 1971 and continues to supply social services and needs, any needs that the community might have. And again, we're located in the Dearborn, Michigan area. If you're interested in learning more about the museum, you can visit our website at arabamericanmuseum.org. So one of the ways, one of the reasons the museum really exists is to really, again, essentially tell the story of Arab Americans. We see ourselves as a space for folks to get an education, a high quality education about the Arab American community, but it's also a space for Arab Americans to call home. It's a place for Arab Americans to feel safe. It's a place to have discussions. It's a place to see yourself reflected in art and stories and culture and so many other ways. And so the museum is a really rare gem. And again, we're as a national institution, we have a pretty national presence. So again, telling the story of Arab Americans, of course, we always start at, the different countries that Arab Americans connect with. And so here you'll see in front of you a map of the Arab world. All of these countries, there are 22 countries. These 22 countries are considered to be a part of the Arab world. As you may have heard some of the other individuals mentioning, SWANA is also a term that is being used, which I think is wonderful. It stands for Southwest Asia, North Africa. So there's lots of different ways that this part of the world is being identified. Arab world, MENA, which is Middle East, North Africa, SWANA. One of the ways we don't identify this part of the world, though, is purely Middle East, right? So we don't use the term Middle East. It's not a very accurate term if you're talking Arabic, food, culture, different things like that. So we don't use the term Middle East. It's more of a geopolitical term that was coined by some of the colonial powers. So we don't use the term Middle East. Again, it's just not very accurate, right? So there are three unifying factors that also make these 22 countries uniquely Arab or part of the SWANA region that other countries might not possess, right? So one of the unifying factors is language. So all 22 countries that you see in front of you have Arabic as its official language. Many of these countries have multiple official languages such as French or English or specific dialects like Somali, but they all have Arabic as its official language. What's interesting though is when we talk about these unifying factors, we can't only talk about them as unifying factors. We also talk about the differences that you'll find as well. So if many of you may know that there are plenty of different dialects that that can be very drastically different from one another. And that's kind of that similarity, but then that difference. The similarity is more of the proper Arabic, and the diversity is really with the dialects. The second unifying factor that unifies these countries is a shared history and culture between all 22. Of course, that includes things like food and clothing and music and sports and traditions and art. But again, there's also some really vast differences between the countries in terms of culture as well. So again, there's those similarities, but also differences. And then lastly is membership in the Arab League. The Arab League, for those of you who are not familiar with it, it acts as helps out with cultural, political, and economic situations facing different countries, perhaps. And that's the third kind of final unifying factor, right? So that's kind of how we define these Arab countries. Although again, we don't use Arab as like a defining factor, right? So in a lot of these countries, a lot of folks and Arab Americans, kind of coming back to the U.S., a lot of folks that come from these countries don't necessarily identify as Arab. I can use my family as an example. I was told back in the day that my grandparents would never say that they're Arab, right? They would say, tell people you're Lebanese, you are different, you are a descendant of the Phoenicians, right? And that's fine. That's awesome that my family thought that. I personally identify as Arab American. So we use the term Arab world, Arab American, but that is also it's a very ever-changing term, and it doesn't necessarily define the Arab American community 100%, if that makes sense. Identity is a very personal choice and also a very tricky thing. But again, so now that we understand the different countries that Arab Americans come from, we'll go into our important fact sheet here. So one thing that we often get when we do these presentations is, people assume that religion is a unifying factor. And that's something that we always try to stress too, is that religion does not make you Arab, right? While there are many folks who identify as Muslim, you also have many Arab Christians, Arabs who are Jewish, Arabs who connect to multiple religions outside of those major monotheistic religions. So, and the other example I always give is, as an Arab American, I can convert to 7 different religions in 7 days, but I still keep my Arabness, right? I still keep my Arab ethnicity. And then if we bring it a little closer to home, you'll notice that the religious makeup of the community is pretty diverse, right? It's about 50% Muslim and 50% Christian. But again, you also have Arabs who are Jewish and who also connect to other religions outside of those major monotheistic religions. So Arab and Muslim are definitely not synonymous. And then talking a little bit about Arab immigration. So at the museum, we highlight 4 distinct time periods of immigration. Starting with the 1880s. This is where you really start to see the first large number of Arab immigrants coming over to this country. So usually when we're on, when we have groups that come to the museum, I'll usually ask this question, like, when do you think the first, large group of Arab immigrants came to the US? A lot of people that don't necessarily have this knowledge may assume like, oh, the 1970s, the 1950s. Of course, it obviously goes back way beyond that. And Arabic-speaking folks have been coming over way before the 1880s. But this period is where you start to see the larger bulk of folks coming during this time. So again, this is one of the goals of the museum, is to really share the story of the Arab American community that is unfortunately not well known to some groups. So again, you'll see that it's mostly Christians coming over during this time in Greater Syria, which is Lebanon, Syria, Palestine, Jordan, kind of this area. But it's not just Christians, right? You also do have many Muslims coming over during this time and other religious communities. And it's not just Greater Syria. You do have some folks coming from Morocco, Yemen, Egypt, Iraq, and other places as well. But again, the larger bulk is coming from our Christians coming from Greater Syria. Of course, folks coming over for employment and economics. Economics and employment really kind of drives everything. And this is just, again, meant to be kind of like a little bit of a sneak peek. So I'm hoping that you'll eventually either check out the museum's website or maybe come in person to the museum when, inshallah, things are a little bit better, kind of in a post-COVID. So what's interesting with these periods is that a lot of it depends on U.S. policies and or what's going on overseas that really kind of starts and stops these periods. So the first period really stops because at the time the US passes legislation that really stops immigrants, or at best slows down to a trickle, coming from most of the world except for Northern and Western European countries. And this is really where the first period ends, is because of these restrictions on immigration. The second, which kind of springs us into the second time period, where you see folks coming over for several reasons, right? We see many Palestinians coming over due to the creation of the state of Israel. This forces many Palestinians to be exiled from their homes, and that brings many Palestinian families over. You also have something called the brain drain, right? You have very highly educated individuals coming over here, such as Dr. Rashid Abdu, who comes over from Yemen, and I believe is in Ohio still, and is a very successful, very well-known doctor. So you have very highly educated folks coming over. The US at this time is being very selective, right? It only wants kind of the folks that can contribute to American society. And so hence it's the draining of a lot of the intellectuals from the Arab world. You also see a large Yemeni population coming over as well, working in some of the shipping industries and some of the factories and things like that during this period. Our third time period is from the 1966 until the 1990s. There's a wide variety of reasons people come over: family reunification, war and political conflict, economics, education, you name it. You know, there are Arabs coming because of that reason. You can see also we highlight, again, highlighting one of the many stories that we have in our exhibits. We have Jalil, who's coming over from Morocco during this third time period, and he's coming over for education, right? He's coming over, settling in California, getting his bachelor's and his master's, and then eventually getting married and bringing his wife and starting a family here in the United States, all rooted, of course, in education, his initial reason for coming here. And then our fourth time period, our fourth time period is from the 1990s up until today, and this has a lot to do with U.S. intervention in the Arab world, either direct or indirect. Very obvious, I think, example is the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003, and this causes a lot of Iraqis to come over to the U.S. because, again, of war and political conflict, lack of opportunity, economics, so on and so forth. One of the interesting things I think that we highlight in our museum is we give, again, a wide variety of stories, of backgrounds, of reasons people are coming over here, but also like some of the sentiment they're feeling too. I feel like in school, we're all taught that, you know, when people want to come over to America and everybody wants to be here. And while that's true, there are many people who want to be here. There are some folks that don't necessarily have the choice and they're forced to leave their homeland. And so this quote, I think, is really interesting. I won't read it aloud, but it gives the idea that, you know, yes, a lot of people do want to be here, but there's many, many different experiences that people are feeling when they arrive to the United States. Again, kind of surrounded by their circumstances. So that's also something that we try to highlight again in that diversity. You can see, of course, the very large population of Arab Americans in the United States. Every state does have some type of Arab American population, but you can see the states that they're pretty much concentrated in. What's interesting here is that since I'm in Michigan and a lot of folks are in California, there is kind of a connection with the Arab American population. So both Michigan and California are known for having a large population of Arab Americans. The largest population of Arab Americans reside in California. So California overall has the largest population of Arab Americans, but they're much more spread out, right? California is obviously a very large state. And so many Arab Americans in California are in the Los Angeles area, San Diego, San Francisco, and some of the bigger cities in California. And a lot of the population in California, and I'm sure my friends at the AACC could also attest to this, but there are very large populations of many different communities, of Arab communities in California. But some of the biggest in California are the Lebanese population, the Egyptian, and the Iraqi population, just to name a few. Michigan, of course, has the claim to fame for having the largest concentration of Arab Americans in the country, right? So that's kind of that distinction. California has the largest overall. Michigan has the highest concentration. And again, you can see some of the states that have really large populations of Arab Americans. And lastly, to kind of round everything out, one thing I like to do is just really celebrate the diversity of the Arab American community and the contributions of the Arab American community, which again is a narrative I think that needs to get pushed out further and further. And of course, you have some amazing folks who are making an impact, who will be following my brief presentation. But I also wanted to highlight some folks such as Rashida Tlaib, Tony Shalhoub, We have Dr. Ahmed Zawil, who won a Nobel Prize for his work in chemistry. Helen Thomas, who was a very famous journalist from the Metro Detroit area, nicknamed the Watchdog of Democracy. A few of these names also might be familiar to you, which is wonderful, and some of these might not, which again furthers the need for educational programming like the Arab American National Museum. Again, we see Yemeni American activist and educator Debbie El-Muntazir, based in New York City. We have Bella Hadid, who might be a little bit more well-known in the pop cultural aspect. And then lastly, we have Omar El Khalifa, or known by his stage name as Odyssey, who's a Sudanese-American rapper and music producer, been producing music since the 2000s. And then, of course, we have Jeff Johns, who's involved in the comic books, right? So while you were reading Flash or Green Lantern or Aquaman, you probably didn't realize that there was an Arab American behind a lot of that work. So again, this is just a snapshot of the Arab American National Museum and kind of the things that we offer. And again, I do hope that you will stay in touch with us. My contact information is up, and/or you can visit our museum. We have a lot of really great stuff virtually that we're offering in our presence online. And then again, hopefully you'll come and visit us in the near future. So thank you all very much for this opportunity.
All right, that was Dave Serio from the Arab American National Museum, everybody. Thank you so much for your time, Dave. That was a very informative presentation. Up next, we have the Executive Director of the Arab Resource and Organizing Center, also known as AROC. I have had the privilege to hear her speak before, and I'm very excited that we have her here with us tonight, celebrating Arab American Heritage Month, the wonderful Lada Kiswani. Lara is from Beit Iqsa in Akad, Palestine. She was born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area, and she works at San Francisco State University's College of Ethnic Studies. For the last 20 years, Lara has been active in movements against war, Palestinian self-determination, and Third World solidarity. Lara will be sharing with us the importance of the Save Ethnic Studies campaign, so if everyone can please give a warm welcome to Lara Kiswani.
Thank you so much for having me. I'd first like to begin by recognizing that I'm speaking from the land of the indigenous Ohlone people, and I honor their ongoing struggle for sovereignty. I want to appreciate all the work of the Arab American Civic Council to celebrate Arab Heritage Month. Oftentimes, our communities advocate for years to gain recognition of a month, a week, or a day. And many times we forget to take time out to remember that work and to also use it as an opportunity to amplify our struggles for social, economic, and racial justice. So it's really an honor to be part of an event tonight that is aimed at doing just that. It goes without saying that the Arab American community has a long history of organizing for change and working alongside communities of color to build power and to overturn the systems perpetuating forced migration, racism, exploitation of all people. That's why we take part in movements against war. That's why we take part against fighting against racist immigration policies or policing of Black and brown people. It's why we stand in solidarity with our indigenous siblings as they fight ongoing settler colonialism of this native land. And it's why we take on campaigns that build the leadership of those most impacted in our community and open up spaces for us to shift and build power. One terrain of struggle in that regard, in this long journey, is that of public education. I'm a child of Palestinian refugees and immigrants, first of my siblings to be born in the United States. I come from a working class Arab Muslim family, and all of that shapes my identity. And like many of us raised here in the United States, it was actually my experience in the education system that planted in me an understanding of social and economic injustice and a commitment to fighting against it. So like perhaps many of you, I didn't see myself or my people in any textbook or curriculum. I was told by my classroom teachers that my country doesn't exist. And this is not a unique experience. It's why education is a central issue for so many working families. Our AROC youth program and their leadership conducted 2 youth-led surveys called Turath, Heritage in Arabic, that stands for Teaching, Understanding, and Representing Arabs Throughout History. As part of synthesizing the results of their surveys on representation of Arab and Muslims in high school classrooms, they also analyzed textbooks. And it should come as no surprise that the overall experience of Arabs in classrooms directly correlated with the lack of curriculum on Arabs or the content or on the actual content of the curriculum, which often focus on demonization of Arabs or Muslims. Our Turath report that was just published last year illustrates that only 2.3% of the students surveyed said they learned anything about Arabs or Muslims at their school. So we know that absent of a systemic overhaul of our current Eurocentric K-12 curriculum, without individual teachers committed to providing alternative social justice-oriented sources and curriculum, the experience of poor, working class, Black, Brown, Indigenous youth in public schools will continue to be disempowering and alienating, because that is actually how it was designed to be. So one remedy to the erasure of entire peoples, cultures, histories, and movements from education and in curriculum is ethnic studies. Ethnic studies was born out of the longest student strike in US history. This 4-month student strike was led by the Black Student Union and Third World Liberation Front at San Francisco State University and then at UC Berkeley from 1968 to 1969. The founders of ethnic studies did so in order to open up educational institutions to our histories, our cultures, and our communities as racially oppressed people. It emerged as a discipline that decenters whiteness and centers the stories and struggles of racialized and indigenous people. And from the beginning, Arab nationalists and the anti-colonial struggles of Palestine and Algeria were central to the formation of the Third World Liberation Front movement, which was deeply rooted in the vision for self-determination and solidarity. In fact, in the spring of 1969, the Organization of Arab Students and the Black Student Union at San Francisco State co-organized Palestine Day together. So since the Black Student Union and Third World Liberation Front students held their strikes in 1968, scholars and activists had advanced the field of ethnic studies, implementing it in universities and school districts across the United States, which includes teaching about Palestine. As part of that work, advocates also worked for years to have the state of California develop a statewide ethnic studies model curriculum to be shared and used by teachers across districts. Alongside that, many of our districts, like that of San Francisco, have passed policies making ethnic studies a high school requirement. Because many of our young folks continuously say ethnic studies saved my life. So since its inception in 1968, ethnic studies has also been under attack by right-wing forces. And today we are witnessing a new front in that struggle for ethnic studies, the attack on Palestine and Arab American studies. For the last 2 years, we've led the Save Arab American Studies Coalition, a multiracial coalition made up of teachers, parents, community organizations, fighting for a liberatory, authentic curriculum that has the potential to transform the lives of millions of students. And we know that California sets the precedent for the rest of the country. So this coalition formed in response to Assembly Bill 2016, which mandated that the state of California develop an ethnic studies curriculum. In 2019, after the experts in ethnic studies drafted a curriculum to include Arab American studies and Palestine, Israel lobbyists initiated an all-out assault on the curriculum, and specifically the inclusion of Arab American studies. What started off as an attack on that inclusion of Arab American studies in Palestine became an all-out attack on ethnic studies. The entire curriculum was gutted of its anti-racist, its anti-colonial pedagogy and framework, and Palestine was completely erased. Most recently, on March 18th, the California Department of Education rubber-stamped this racist, anti-Palestinian, and arguably anti-ethnic studies curriculum that they are now branding as an ethnic studies curriculum for public schools in the state of California. So despite the Save Arab American Studies Coalition mobilizing tens of thousands of public comments, I'm sure many of you watching and listening today were some of those public comments in support of an authentic ethnic studies, including Palestine. Despite the founders of ethnic studies, the veterans of the 1968 student strike condemning the revisions to the original curriculum and echoing that Palestine and Arab American studies is ethnic studies. Despite that, one of the most powerful teacher unions, the California Teachers Association, opposed the revisions to the curriculum, and despite that all the original authors demand that their names be removed from this insulting document, and that the Arab American Studies Association, the Association of Asian American Studies, the Association of Rasa educators, and scholars such as Angela Davis, Cornell West, Mark Lamont Hill, Robin Kelly, just to name a few, all opposed this curriculum and stood in solidarity with our efforts to defend ethnic studies. The California Department of Education still decided to capitulate to white, Zionist, right-wing interest group. This curriculum does not adhere to the principles and values of ethnic studies. It doesn't actually embody or embed any sort of analysis of structural racism. It is a race to Palestine. And even further, within the curriculum, they reference the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which essentially criminalizes any solidarity with Palestine by conflating criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism. But this is not the end of the story. The story begins and ends with solidarity. That is what birthed ethnic studies in 1969. And that is what this campaign to save Arab American studies has built on and continues to deepen across communities. As I speak, we are building with teachers, families, youth, and communities across the United States who are committed to protecting, defending, and advancing anti-racist curriculum in their schools. Here in California, we know that this statewide curriculum is actually not mandatory. Therefore, teachers have options, including the option to adhere to the actual fidelity of ethnic studies and use an alternative curriculum. So the original writers of the curriculum are now developing what they are calling the liberated ethnic studies model curriculum, a curriculum that is anti-racist, that is liberatory, and that encourages students to think critically and see themselves as part of movements for social change and to build knowledge and solidarity, including learning about Palestine. This curriculum will be offered to teachers everywhere. So you see, as we were organizing to defend ethnic studies in California and bring down this whitewashed racist curriculum, we were also building up an alternative, which is so essential to any of our organizing efforts. The solidarity that has been built during this struggle will outlast any policy, will outlast any shelved curriculum. It will shape the future of what is possible for our communities in this moment. Today, there is consensus across progressive communities that an attack on Palestine is an attack on all movements for justice. And we can definitively say that today, this solidarity and this understanding and consensus also extends to all anti-racist teachers and scholars who understand an attack on Palestine is an attack on ethnic studies. So as we celebrate Arab Heritage Month, I really want to welcome you all to celebrate the work of this campaign, to defend ethnic studies, to defend Palestine and Arab American studies as part of our legacy of Arab Americans and as part of the legacy of Arab organizing in the United States. The struggle continues, so for anyone interested in getting involved or learning more about efforts to implement ethnic studies in your local areas, you can learn more by going to our coalition's website, savearabamericanstudies.org. We know that we always have to fight for our own power in the face of oppressive power. And we must also, though, demand more. We must dream more and fight for what's possible. And we believe this campaign is doing just that. I also want to thank the Arab American Civic Council for doing some of that necessary work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lara. That was such an amazing and inspiring address, and such an inspiring work that you do that we want to follow in your footsteps. We do want to build the capacity to be able to support you and support the AROC's work so that our children, my children, our grandchildren can learn about Arab American studies in high school. Thank you so much, Lara. So I'm going to leave you guys with a short video that highlights our work in the past year, and we'll start that video right now. Last year was extremely challenging as we faced a global pandemic. Right after the primary elections in California, everything changed. We went from mobilizing our Arab American community to get out and vote by knocking on their doors, going door to door at their homes, talking to thousands of folks, to doing everything virtually.
Please do not forget to register to vote.
Our community can swing elections in these states, We mobilized more than 20,000 Arab Americans to get out and vote. We will continue building our voter infrastructure year-round because in 2022 we will have another election. And we have to adapt in response to the COVID pandemic. We created a digital COVID-19 resource guide for the Arab American community here in Southern California. We continued our advocacy against the bigoted Muslim and African ban.
Today we just came out of a meeting with Norma Torres' office and we just found out that she co-sponsored the No Ban Act.
That this administration and others really want to make this a majority white country.
Blackness is seen as dangerous, victimized.
We kicked off a program this morning that we've been working on at the Arab American Civic Council called Designate Anaheim's Little Arabia, and we actually even have had masks made, which seems very timely, as you can see right there. The idea is to try to get formal designation for this area that is...
We presented to the City Council. We are requesting them to designate Little Arabia. It's time. It's been 20 years in the making.
Why is it taking so long, 10 years, for it to be acknowledged by you guys? Why is it pushed aside? Why is it not on the agenda?
Just recognized April as Arab American Heritage Month. What better way to celebrate Arab American Heritage Month in April than designating Little Arabia officially? The campaign to designate Little Arabia is far from over. We know that hate and bigotry are reasons why we still don't have a designation. We will continue to push until we get a designation of Little Arabia.
Hi everybody, my name is Jeanine Assad and I am the Impact Intern for the Arab American Civic Council this year. One of the projects that I've had the opportunity to work on and be a part of is reaching out to our surrounding cities and asking them to commemorate the month of April as Arab American Heritage Month. And this has actually gone great with over 10 new cities passing a resolution acknowledging the month of April as Arab American Heritage Month. My favorite part of this whole internship has just been seeing the different ways the Arab American Civic Council connects with other groups and how we work with them to not only further our advocacy work, but to further their projects as well. It has increased my opportunities to further advocate for the needs of my community, and it's just been a really amazing thing to be a part of.
My name is Bayan. Not only has the fellowship helped me discover and give me a better understanding of who I am as a person, but it has also opened so many doors and opportunities for me in nonprofit advocacy work. And so I urge you to continue your support and give to the Arab American Civic Council so that we can keep the fellowship program alive and other programs alive.
With that, I urge you guys to continue supporting the Arab American Civic Council as you'll be supporting growing leaders as well.
Without your support, we wouldn't exist. That's why I'm asking you today to donate, to support, and invest in your community.
Give a round of applause for people donating and raising.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for sharing. That was an awesome video, Rashad. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And Dave and Lara, that was amazing. I've learned so much in this little brief segments that we had. I feel like we needed more time with you. So looking forward to having you with us in the future. Everyone, my name is Dina Helmi, and I'm a board member of the Arab American Civic Council. And in this portion of the program, we get to have fun. No, I'm not the comedian for the night. That's still to come. But I get to share with you all an opportunity to make an impact. Our goal tonight is $50,000. You might be wondering what kind of an impact you can make. And here I've asked Rashad to kind of join, who we all know is the founder and executive director, who's been working tirelessly to advocate for and give visibility to our Arab American community. So Rashad, if it's okay with you, I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions, kind of shed some light so the audience can get a better feel for what impact they get to have. Is that cool?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So Rashad, you mentioned a leadership program. Can you highlight or elaborate a little bit more on the leadership development program, what kind of an impact it's had and how it's been a vehicle for our community?
Absolutely.
when I was a student, I struggled to find opportunities to gain the experience, gain the knowledge in advocacy work, in nonprofits, in the nonprofit sectors that cater to Arab Americans here in Southern California. So I made it a priority for our organization to create those opportunities. And now we have the Knack Fellowship Program, as well as we recently launched the new Impact Internship Program with UCR's Middle Eastern Student Center. This is the 4th year we do the Knack Leaders Fellowship, and our first one was Johanna. And right now she's a contributing board member. And
did we lose Rashad for a second? Okay, so we'll continue here. Okay, so Johanna, as Rashad was mentioning, is a contributing board member for us right now. And I had the honor of being able to be on the board while she was a fellow, and seeing her evolution and seeing her really evolve into the leader that she is, taking on huge leadership roles right now, doing big things in DC, programs, engaging more youth, grounding them in local campaigns. She is a trailblazer, and we are fortunate and blessed to have her be with us on the board of the Arab American Civic Council. And so we'll kind of wait a little bit, sort of see. I think Rashad's going to be joining in a few seconds. Sure. Let's get anyone else on board who might want to. You guys are all involved on this too. So we're kind of, anything you want to add about the leadership development programs?
Yes, I definitely think the programs are really beneficial for growing students like me. I obviously have a passion for advocacy work and Arab American advocacy work, and just having the opportunity to be a part of something where I get like a hands-on experience, and I get to experience everything in a really safe and comforting environment where I can grow and develop into my own ideas and thoughts, has just been something amazing. And so I definitely think we need to keep up this program and this leadership program, because it's definitely beneficial for still growing students like me. That's personally my experience with it.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeanine. Jeanine, anything you want to add?
Thanks, Jane. You guys can see half my face, but that's fine.
See, this is us embracing tech.
Right? You guys can only see the bot. Okay, there. One of my favorite things about this internship is being able to learn a lot about doing civic advocacy work on a local level. My experience comes just from university, from like the university level, doing like advocating for students. So now I'm able to advocate for Arabs on a more local level. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity, and I encourage everyone who's interested to apply for next year. And yeah.
Awesome. Yes, apply. As you can see, you guys are already leaders coming in, and this is just an opportunity to cultivate some of those skills and go out there, and you guys make a huge impact. So we're grateful for that, and so apply.
For this opportunity.
Yeah. And so kind of wanted to highlight a little bit of the campaign for Designate Little Arabia. What people. Perfect timing, Rashad.
Just in time.
They're like, phew, saved by Rashad showing up.
This whole thing shut down. It froze. I'm sorry. But I'm back.
We embrace technology, and so this is the world we live in right now. So thank you. So anything you want to add to the first? Anything you...
I didn't hear what everyone said, but I just wanted to highlight that our first fellow was Johanna. She was amazing, and she's contributing board member now, and she's doing big things in DC, in Washington, DC, with the Polygon Fund, amplifying our voices in Congress.
So we need to sustain and grow these programs. We need to engage more youth, ground them in local campaigns, polish their skills, and train them to be better leaders, organizers, and advocates.
Yes, yes. Awesome. And so with the campaign for Little Arabia, Rashad, what can we expect to see? What's coming?
We know that xenophobia, anti-immigrant, anti-Arab, Islamophobic sentiment are reasons why there isn't a designation yet, why it didn't happen yet. I'm not saying that council members are xenophobic, but there are people with influence on the city, who have influence on the city, who don't want a part of Anaheim to be named Little Arabia, simply because they hate it. They just don't want Little Arabia to be named. It's prejudice, plain and simple. Despite the polls that we conducted that showed overwhelming support, the dozens of folks who spoke at City Council last week, the many media stories covering this campaign, the many years that we've been working, the council isn't even agendizing it. It does not even want to discuss it. So our work continues. This is long term. The push will continue, and we need your support. We in the next few months, we are going to continue the push, mobilizing folks to come to City Council and speak. We're working with the state side. We're working with those who don't want Little Arabia happen either. We want to have those conversations with them, and our commitment to this community and to Little Arabia is long term. Even after a designation, there's a lot of work to be done so that we can together rise and build a better community and a better future for Arab Americans, immigrants, and all of us.
I love it. I love especially highlighting the piece where once it's designated, that's not where the work ends. We continue because there's still a lot more for us to do for ensuring just the brighter future for our community. So thank you for that. And then, this past year, we've seen a lot of, with the pandemic and the effects of the pandemic, it's really highlighted a lot of the inequities that exist within our local communities, including the Arabic-speaking community. How is the Arab American Civic Council making a difference?
Well, last year, in response to the pandemic, with the support of many, many volunteers, we created a bilingual digital resource guide for our community, the Arab American community here in SoCal. It was it was translated. A lot of resources were translated to Arabic, so we can, so our community have access to them. We are continuing with to work with our local government, our community partners to increase the Arab American community's access to information and resources as we navigate the COVID pandemic. But there's a huge need in this community, and our limited capacity sometimes hinder us. It doesn't always allow us to be there, do the things that we want to do for our community. And while many of our partner organizations are doing wonderful work, there's still a huge need of translating, of disseminating information and resources to Arab immigrants, Arab community, especially here in this part of town in Anaheim's Little Arabia. So there's a lot of work to be done, and we need to build the capacity and get the resources to be able to do this work.
Thank you, Rashad. And as you can see, a lot of work to be done. Funding requires funding, resources, AKA money. And we are fortunate, all of us, to have such an organization like the Arab American Civic Council with the leadership of Rashad. I've had the privilege of knowing Rashad since back in grad school days, and this has been his passion. And even in hard times, it's like there's that continuation, determination. I mean, if commitment looked like something for the Arab American community, I think we'd see Rashad's face stamped next to it. So we are lucky to have this organization that's leading the way for not just Arab Americans today, you and me, but for generations to come. And with your help, we can ensure that Arab Americans continue to have a voice and a place here. So if you can click on the link, I invite you. Most of us, we show up to these fundraising events and we're like, oh, they're going to ask for money. That's what I'm going to give. I'm going to invite you to challenge yourself, dig a little bit deeper, and see if whatever that number you came in thinking today, if you can double that in order to, really show appreciation and commitment to this work AACC does the tough legwork so that we can all enjoy and reap the benefits of being seen and heard and improving the quality of our lives and the lives of generations to come by increasing our opportunities in this community. So that's my invite. Please.
Thank you, Dina, for serving as a board member. We value you. You're doing amazing work with the Arab American Civic Council and with the other organizations that you serve. By the way, we just shared the link in the comments, so please click and be generous. This is important work, and we invite you to support our work, support Jeanine, support Jeanine, support the work that we are doing, and support for our future, for the future of our community and our children.
Okay, so click the link, donate. Back to you, Jeanine and Jeanine.
Thank you, Dina. Thank you, Rashad. All right. I hope you guys are enjoying the program as much as I am. And thank you for being patient with our little technical difficulty. Thank you, Dave, for teaching us how far back Arab Americans have contributed in American culture. And thank you, Lara, for reminding us how important ethnic studies is and reminding us and showing us the correlation between education and liberation. I want to remind you guys of the opportunity drawing that we have. You will have a chance to win a Knack Queens pie from Knack Queens and a dozen batch of cookie butter cookies from Eat Chubs. Both are small business Arab-owned businesses. And you will also be able to win a signed copy of Linda Sarsour's signed memoir, We Are Not Here to Be Bystanders. Speaking of Linda, I have the honor of introducing our final keynote speaker of the night, Linda Sarsour. Linda is an award-winning racial justice and civil rights activist, seasoned community organizer, and mother of three. Ambitious, outspoken, and independent, Linda shatters stereotypes of Muslim women while also treasuring her religious and ethnic heritage. She's a Palestinian Muslim American and self-proclaimed pure New Yorker, born and raised in Brooklyn. Everyone, please give a warm welcome to Linda Sarsour.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm so honored to be here and so honored to listen to the conversation that was happening earlier. It's great to be amongst family and friends. I've known Iyad for a long time. We're fellow Bernie bros. Well, maybe many of you are, but Iyad, you can't really beat him on that. And my brother Rashad for all the wonderful work, and Dina and Jeanine and Jeanine, and the many folks that are behind the Arab American Civic Council. What a beautiful celebration. Today, I was actually not really feeling well. And I said, nope, no matter what, I'm going to come and I'm going to show up for the Arab American Civic Council to show you how important you are and how much needed you are in our community. I joined you just in the last almost year and a half. We've been fighting alongside of you and alongside Lada Kiswani and those at AROC around the ethnic studies program. And understanding that no matter who the president is, no matter who's in power, our existence as Arab Americans continues to be controversial and continues to be marginalized by many of those with influence. And that is why it is important for us to have organizations like the Arab American Civic Council who say absolutely not, that we have every right in these United States of America to be unapologetically Arab American, and to understand that we should be treated with dignity and respect regardless, just by basic decency of being just human beings. But also we have contributed very much to this nation. We have contributed much to this world. You know, when I wake up every morning, I'm Palestinian. I'm a very proud Palestinian Arab American. I don't have to talk. I don't have to say a thing. I don't have to do a thing. I just got to wake up and breathe. And my existence seems to be a threat to many people. And it's important for us as generation and generations come after us, that we continue the resilience and legacy of our people, that we continue to tell our stories, that we continue to be unapologetic about who we are. And it is one of the reasons why I wrote a book. You know, as many of you know, I'm an activist and an organizer. It's what I do full time, 24 hours a day. I wake up organizing, I go to bed organizing, and I don't really have time to write books. I'm not an author. That's not what I set out to be. But I decided one day that I had to write my own story, that I was not going to allow people to define who I am, define the communities that I come from. And I come from one of the greatest Arab American communities in the United States of America, here out in Brooklyn, New York. And I wanted to tell our story. And I wanted to tell a story of dignity, a story of pride, a story of resilience, because that is the community that I came from. And today I honor a lot of great Arab Americans, some who are unsung heroes who many may not know. Just a few months ago, we lost one of the greatest leaders that this country has ever seen, Dr. Ahmed Jabir, who's an OBGYN doctor who delivered me when I was a baby, who was the board chair of the Arab American Association of New York, which is a sister organization in New York to the Arab American Civic Council. He was a man that gave everything that he had to the community. And one of the most important things he instilled with me as a fellow Palestinian American, as an Arab American, is that you need to be loud and proud every day. That when you walk into a room, that you are to be unapologetically Palestinian and unapologetically Arab American. And I took that with me in the last 2 decades of work that I do. I also want to honor a woman who was my mentor and the brilliance of Arab American women and women leaders in our community. Her name is Basima Atwa, who also passed away in 2005. She was the executive director of the Arab American Association of New York. She was my mentor, and she is someone who I will give much credit to, the leader that I am today. She also was a strong and resilient Arab American woman who wanted to create space for other young women. And that is something that I am committed to every day, to see more Arab American women leaders on the front lines, to see them as executive directors, to see them centered and their voices centered, as we saw here today, just watching just a glimpse of what Arab American Civic Council and the many women that are a part of this great organization. Basima Atwa was someone that taught me that as an Arab American, I had a role to play, that I had, if I didn't find a seat at the table, as Shirley Chisholm taught us, bring a folding chair. And I decided to bring many folding chairs to the table to make space for other Arab American leaders, other Muslim American leaders, and other Palestinian American leaders, particularly with the focus on young people. And so if you haven't picked up my book, because I'm supposed to do this, folks, if our own community doesn't support the writers that come out of our community, the books that come out of our communities, we will not be able to open the opportunity for other young people. So I wrote this book. That's me. We are not here to be bystanders. And I truly believe that that is what the Arab American Civic Council embodies. They embody this idea that it's not just the fight for Arab Americans or the fight for rights of Arab Americans, but it's the fight for all of us, to fight against xenophobia, anti-Black racism, to fight against racism within our own communities, which we, of course, have acknowledged on many levels. We have a lot of work to do. Sisters and brothers, I always say to people, we often complain a lot. We say, oh, this, United States does this to us, the policies that have come out to target our communities, this happens, that happens. We do a lot of complaining in the community. And I understand, because we always want to point and identify the problems that we see impacting our communities. But we also have a responsibility, and the responsibility for us to defend the rights of our communities, to build political power of our communities. No one's going to do that for us. We have to do that for ourselves. Many people are doctors, lawyers, your teachers, your social workers. You might be moms. You might be taxi cab drivers. You might be workers. Whatever you do, you may not have the time to dedicate your life or dedicate your career to building political power for the Arab American community, to registering voters, to doing political education, to defending the rights of Arab Americans, especially in the state of California. You may not have the time, and that's okay, because all of us have a role to play. What I say to people all the time, the least that we can do is support the people who are doing that work. So for you today to be here to celebrate during this Arab American Heritage Month is to support the Arab American Civic Council. I tell college students all the time, and I miss being on college campuses. Rashad knows me very well. I'm a person that wants to be with you in person. I want to have a conversation with you. I want to be in a room to feel your energy. So I don't do as well in these virtual spaces, but this is what we have to work with right now. When I'm with college students all the time and I talk to them about supporting organizations in their communities, like in California, supporting Arab American Civic Council, supporting groups like AROC, I tell them all the time, don't let anybody tell you that you're a college student and you're poor and you don't have any money. That's just something that is absolutely not true. I've been to so many college campuses where I watch young people go to the local coffee shop or the local Starbucks and they get their favorite latte that you deserve. You're studying hard, you're working hard. And I say to people all the time, what if every week you decide that one day that you're not going to get that latte, that $4 or $5 latte, and you're going to put that money back in your pocket. And at the end of the month, you're going to have $20, maybe $25. And you said to yourself, every month I'm going to give $25 to the Arab American Civic Council. Sometimes we believe $25, what does that do? And I say to people, what if we found 100 people to give $20 to $25 to the Arab American Civic Council, trust me, Rashad will tell you that that money goes a long way. That can pay the electric bill. That can pay some stipends to some interns. It could really go a long way for the work that they are doing. So let us not make any excuses and let us support those who support us. I oftentimes people say, Sister Linda, how can we support you in the work that you do? In order to support me, you have to support Rashad, because I, as a national activist, I need strong institutions in every corner of this country. I need strong leaders like Rashad in every corner of this country. I want you to support the institutions that are in your local area. Don't worry about me, because when I'm on a national stage, I get to say my people are in California, they're in SoCal, they're in Northern California, they're in Cleveland, Ohio, they're in Detroit and in Dearborn, they're in Patterson, New Jersey, they're in Raleigh, North Carolina, they're in Sarasota, Florida, they're in Houston and in Dallas and in Phoenix, Arizona. Sisters and brothers, we have institutions and leaders in our community all over this country, and we are responsible to funding our own community and our own movements. Oftentimes we complain, we say, what is it about the white supremacists and those that are in opposition to our communities? We say that the right-wing Zionists are a well-funded movement. Well, that's exactly the answer. They're a well-funded movement. We are not outnumbered by the opposition. We are out-organized. No other oppositional movement has more brilliance than our community. They don't have more money than we have. They don't have more numbers than we have. We have to learn how to organize around our principles and values. And our principles and values as Arab Americans is dignity, freedom, human rights, self-determination. That is the principles and values that we organize around as Arab Americans. And those are the principles of the Arab American Civic Council. So I came here today to say to all of you that we have a lot of work to do. And like I said earlier, it doesn't matter who's in the White House for Arab Americans and Muslim Americans, which of course, as you know, we can be both. We can be Arab American and Muslim American. Some of us are just Arab American and may have other faiths. The issue in America is with xenophobia and Islamophobia. Unfortunately, most of the general public does not know the difference. So that is why we have found solidarity even amongst Arab American Christians with our Muslim American sisters and brothers who are not Arab across the country. We are and found out how to live in our intersectionality and in our complex identities. And I say to people all the time, in our community, it doesn't matter to me if you're a Yemeni or you're Palestinian or you're from Lebanon or you're Ceria or you're from North Africa or you're from Sudan or wherever you're, if you're from the Gulf. We are one Arab community. Sisters and brothers in this country, the United States of America, they don't know the difference between a Saudi and a Palestinian. They don't know the difference between a Palestinian and an Egyptian. So if the opposition treats our communities as one community, we need to start acting like we are one community. Our power is in our unity, and that is the work that the Arab American Civic Council does every day. What they do every day is they engage in political education. They are ensuring that our communities are well informed, that you know what's going on around you, that you understand the policies that are coming forward, whether it be in your local area, on the state level, on the national level. They are registering voters. I remember Rashad from the days of the AAI Yellow Vote campaign, and that was a long time ago, like 14 years ago. You have a leader that has been on the ground and doing this work for a long time before he was officially with the Arab American Civic Council. So I implore you today, I am asking you today to please support the Arab American Civic Council. I am going to donate $100 today. I didn't come here to donate, but I'm inspired to donate today because I am going to practice what I preach. And I hope today that with those of you who are watching, get into the comments and say, Sister Linda, you're absolutely right. And I'm going to match your donation today. In fact, I'm somebody that may have more means. You may have more means than me. I'm an activist and an organizer. You may have more means than me. You can say, Sister Linda, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to triple my donation to the Arab American Civic Council. If you gave 100, Sister Linda, I'm going to give 300. I'm going to give $400, $500. If you support the work that I do, if you support my unapologetic leadership, then you too have to support the Arab American Civic Council. Sisters and brothers, I said this in my book, we are not here to be bystanders. And that is the most important concept that I have been living by for the last 20 years. I'm not going to sit around and allow people to defame our communities, to demonize our people, to try to stop public education systems from teaching about our heritage and the contributions of our immigrant communities in these United States of America. I'm not going to sit back. I'm not going to sit back when they continue to attack Palestinian solidarity groups on college campuses across this country. I'm not going to stand back, just like the Arab American Civic Council doesn't stand back. So I'm calling you today to a movement. I'm not asking you to donate, actually. I'm actually asking you to invest. One thing that I say to people all the time, and I told the story to Rashad many years ago, I said, you know what nightmare I have? Everybody has nightmares, and I have nightmares too. I have these nightmares that 100 years from now, there will be little Arab American children, maybe 8th, 9th, 10th generation, maybe 12th generation Arab Americans, that will be ashamed to tell people where they're from. They will be ashamed to say they're Arab American. Maybe they won't even know that they're Arab American. Maybe they won't even have that education, whether familial or through political education in the community. And for me, that is a nightmare. What I want to happen 100 years from now is I want this 12th, 14th, 15th generation of Arab Americans to stand up and say, we are so unapologetic about who we are. We're so unapologetically Palestinian American and Egyptian American, Lebanese American and Saudi American and Moroccan American and all the pan-Arab nations. And you get to stand up and be so proud of your heritage. You know why? Because they're going to say, MashaAllah, because the Arab American Civic Council was doing this work, and because Sister Linda was out in the streets defending our work, and because Access was out there defending our communities and teaching us about our beloved heritage, because we had the Arab American National Museum, because we have Arab American authors and writers who are telling our stories, who are making films, who are writing articles, who are becoming journalists, who are working in the media. They were, building power. They were electing people like Rashida Tlaib, and they were electing people like Sam Rasool in Virginia. They were electing Arab American leaders across this country. They were sending delegates to political parties during presidential elections. And it is because of the work of groups like Arab American Civic Council. So I hope today what you do is you join me, you match my donation, and if you can double or triple my $100, please do that today. I want Rashad to call me tomorrow and say, Sister Linda, wow, we did that. We raised a couple of $1,000s during a virtual event. It's not easy to raise money these days. It really isn't easy, and especially not during this virtual, pandemic world. It's not a good situation. Trust me when I tell you. I personally, do very few of these types of fundraisers. When Rashad texted me, I was like, a poor baby Jeanine, she probably emailed me a few times. I'm backed up on emails. But Rashad knows my phone number. And Rashad picked up the phone and said, Sister Linda, can you do this event for us? I said, whatever you need me to do, Rashad, I'm there. I support you 100%. I unequivocally support your leadership and the work that you are doing, because what happens in California doesn't just impact the people of California. What happens with ethnic studies in the state of California doesn't just impact the people of California. You set precedent across the country. So I am imploring you today to allow us to continue this work. Many of you know I run an organizing platform, a digital organizing platform called Empower Change. And we've been working with AROC and Arab American Civic Council and other organizations, CARE San Francisco Bay Area chapter, around this ethnic studies. We have been able to garner support from across the country, over 21,000 comments around this ethnic studies program. And to be honest with you, if I didn't have the Arab American Civic Council, what would I have done? I'm just an organizer from New York. I would not have had the credibility to add my voice to a fight that is happening in the state of California. But because I could point to people like Rashad, I can point to people like Lara and say, these are my people. And I'm here because I'm here to support my people. I'm here to support the public school students in California. I'm here to support the Arab American leadership and the Arab American communities of California and my soldiers on the ground and I know people don't like the war analogy, but I think it works here. Are people like Lara, are people like Rashad, and the many, many others that you have heard here today, and Iyad, and Dina, and Jeanine, and Jeanine, and I can sit here for days and name many other people. So please, I didn't just come here to tell you about myself or tell you about my work. I'm here to tell you, if you support national leaders like me, I need you to support our brilliant local leaders who we would be nothing. I would be nothing as a national leader without these local leaders across this country in 50 states that are representing Arab Americans with dignity, with courage, with bravery at a time when we need it most. So thank you, Rashad, for all of your work. Thank you to the Arab American Civic Council. I celebrate you today during this Arab American Heritage Month. I celebrate our Arab American communities every day. When I wake up in the morning and I get up and I walk these streets with my back straight and my head held high, that is because of my lineage as an Arab American. I have so much to be proud of. You have so much to be proud of. And I hope today that you invest in our heritage, you invest in our political power, that you invest in us as a collective by supporting the Arab American Civic Council. Thank you, everyone, so much.
All right. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. We hope you are enjoying the program. It's very hard to go after my beloved sister, Linda Sarsour. She brought so much energy to tonight's event. We are very grateful for her contributions. We are standing on her shoulder, and we should be paving the road like what she did for every single child to be proud of who they are. And last and not least, I have the distinct honor to introduce our last special guest for tonight. He is bold and bold, the one and only Amer Zahr. Amer wears many hats as he is an Arab American comedian, speaker, writer, academic, and adjunct professor at the University of Detroit Mercy School of Law. Growing up as a child of Palestinian refugees, he draws on his experiences performing and lecturing on topics like politics, Islam, society, and growing up Arab. One of his many accomplishments is his production of the first ever 1001 Laughs Ramallah Comedy Festival, which is a production in Palestine that featured 10 comedians and had 7 shows in August of 2015. This festival was a major hit as it entertained over 2,000 locals. Amer has performed all throughout North America, Europe, and the Arab world. We are beyond excited to have him celebrate the Arab American Heritage Month with us tonight. For your entertainment pleasure, please help me welcome to our virtual stage the man, the legend, Amer Zahr.
And that was a lot of energy. I appreciate that, Iyad, and I appreciate everybody. Hello to everybody out there in the virtual world. I'm so happy to be with everyone here. Oh, yeah. Can you hear me? You can all hear me, right? Okay, good. Rashad, I can't hear you. You're muted. Bring me up some of these people.
We can hear you.
Okay, good. Rashad, I can hear you. Is that your name, Jeanine?
Jeanine, yes.
Or you're Deanna? I don't know who I'm talking. Hi, Jeanine. I can hear you. Okay, and Iyad, of course, I can see you. All right, everybody. Well, listen, I am very happy to be with all of you here in with the Arab American Civic Council. Thanks for having me. I actually come from, I understand that you guys are celebrating Arab American Heritage Month. All you guys down there in Anaheim are trying to get, Brookhurst classified as Little Arabia and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm very proud of all the work that you're doing. But, just let me tell you this. I come from Dearborn, all right? The real Arab town, okay? Okay, I know you guys out in California. You think you're cool. You think you're slick. The weather's nicer. Yes, that's all true. I actually come to California a lot. My sister lives out there. I'm actually in California right now. I come out to California a lot. I come from Michigan. I need to say something about California, though, before I continue into a celebration of our culture. Listen, I don't know what you all think here in California. I don't know what they've taught you, what kind of thing. I come from America. Okay, I don't know what you guys do here in California. I come from a place where if you go to the restaurant and you eat, and then you go to throw away your food or to a place where there's a trash can with one hole. Okay, Not 3 holes, 4 holes, 5 holes. I don't know how many holes you have in the trash can here, but they're all like different shapes and different colors, and you just got to figure it out. Like there's no signs, there's no directions, you just got to figure it out, because I guess you all are saving the world by charging people 10 cents for a plastic bag and little circles and holes and colors for all of your, I come from Michigan, okay, America, where I order something. I go into CVS and they say to me, would you like us to triple plastic bag that for you? And I say, yes. Thank you. And by the way, depriving Americans, good Americans, especially Arab Americans, of plastic bags, that is an anti-Arab move. Okay, listen, we are the kings and queens of plastic bags, all right? In my house, there was a bag full of bags. Okay, that's what we do. We save. We are the #1 recyclers. And now all of a sudden in California, not giving all the Arabs are going to leave. Maybe that's why they did it. Maybe they stopped giving out plastic bags, so all the Arabs leave California, because they knew we were collecting because we don't throw anything away. Okay, you want to save the planet, you want to learn about recycling, please, just fill up your communities with Arabs. We will show you how to reuse everything, okay? We'll show you how to use that plastic bag. My friends used to ask me when I was going to school, like, why coming to lunch with like a supermarket bag? I'm like, we got a lot of bags, okay, bro? I don't know what to tell you, all right? We just got a lot of bags in our house, and we got to use them, all right? Like this, I don't know if you know this. By the way, if my audience here, turn on your mics, man. Don't mute yourselves. There's have you ever seen those, like ragu spaghetti sauce jars? Okay, that's a good jar. All right, that's a good jar. You don't throw that away when you're done. All right, my mom's pantry is full of 25-year-old spaghetti sauce jars, because that's a good jar. All right, we are the recyclers. And out here in California, did you throw it in the green circle, or did you throw it in the yellow oval? Or, oh my God, you threw it in the blue rectangle? We're all going to jail. I mean, I don't understand what happens here in California. And then I come from Michigan. And then whenever I come from Michigan to California, all you California people, especially the Arabs, they always say the same thing. It's so cold. I don't know how you live there in Michigan. It is so cold. Okay, it's cold. All right, that's it. It just gets cold. You know what doesn't happen in Michigan? You don't wake up in the middle of the night because the chandelier is falling from your house and the VCR and the TV are falling off the TV because there was an earthquake. All right, that doesn't happen in Michigan. All right, it just gets cold. You put on a sweater like an adult and you go outside. That's it. All right. You know what doesn't happen? Half the state catches on fire. That doesn't happen in Michigan. Okay, that doesn't happen in Michigan. It just gets cold. It just gets cold, and you shovel the snow like an adult, and then you get on with the rest of your day. And all of you, it's so cold in Michigan. I don't know how you guys live there. Okay, all right. You know what doesn't happen in Michigan? That no one says, well, California is beautiful, but the mud from the mountain might kill you one day. All right. The mud doesn't kill us. All right. In Michigan, it just gets cold. It just gets cold. You put on a sweater and you go outside. All right. I come from the real Arab town. Anaheim is our little brother. We love you, but you guys are our little brother. And everybody gets freaked out about Dearborn, because Dearborn's on Fox News all the time. All the time, Fox News. They think Dearborn has Sharia law. And that's probably why it's going to take a while before you guys get the full Little Arabia treatment in Anaheim, because Sharia law, nobody, But listen, there's no Arabs. We don't bring Sharia law to America, all right? We escape Sharia law. We escaped Sharia law to come here. That was the whole idea, all right? That's why we came here, and that's why we have 75 gas stations, and that's why we buy everything, okay? We like, okay? I've never seen, look, Dearborn has no Sharia law. It's full of Muslims and Arabs, no Sharia law. It has like 40 churches, and it has like 7 ham shops, and at least 3 strip clubs, all right? At least 3 that I know about. The only Sharia law I've ever seen in an Arab neighborhood in Dearborn is that the strip club serves halal wings. That's the only Sharia law I've ever seen, because that's, you got to know your clientele, I guess. You got to know your clientele, and that's just customer service, Is this a haram show or halal show, Rashad? I forgot. How many dirty jokes am I allowed to tell? Rashad told me I get 7 dirty jokes. That's what he said. So I'm just going on the contract that he gave me.
Show me that contract.
Okay. It was verbal. So it was verbal. So please give money to the Arab American Civic Council and support them in all the work they do, like bringing comedians to their shows to shame our community. But let me say this. I've been saying for a long time, and we deserve this little Arabia designation, and even in Dearborn, we haven't named it Arab Town yet. We deserve all that kind of stuff, and we deserve, you know what we deserve from white America? A big fat thank you. Not where are you from? Are you really American? Show me your passport. How about a big fat thank you for rebuilding every community that we step foot in, whether it's New York City or Anaheim or Dearborn. That's what we do, okay? We invest. We get educated, we build businesses, we rebuild communities. And they want to tell us that we don't belong. It's not right. It's not right. And then they've misclassified us on the census for forever. They call us white. We're not white. Okay, I mean, I love white people, kind of, and they're fine and everything, but we're not. We deserve our own box. Do you all agree on screen that we Arabs deserve our own box? Yes, do you agree?
Absolutely.
Yes, yes, we deserve our own box. Because we're not white. I know we're not white because we're just different. We do things different. We buy houses different than white people. Okay, white people, when they buy a house, they're very logical. They're very logical. They just walk in. Are the schools good? Is the neighborhood safe? Are the taxes low? It's very logical when they buy a house. Not us. We're Arabs are very different when we buy a house. No, I really like the house. It's very beautiful. I like it. How far is Costco? This is very important to us. This is the most important thing. How long to get to Costco? Okay, because we very important to us. We're different. We're different groups of people. We ask for directions and we give directions different than white people. White people give you very precise directions. Joe, how do I get to your house? Well, you're going to go down 5.4 miles, okay? And then you're going to take a right on Route 71, and then you're going to take a left on Hillside Drive, and then you're going to take a right on Maple Street. That's my street. I'm going to be the 7th house on the left. It's going to be 732. That's the name of my house. It's a blue house. You can't miss it. Very precise, very good directions. Not us. We give directions a little bit different. I remember when I was a kid, I asked my uncle for directions. He got a new house. I was like, Ammo, how do I get to your house? He goes, okay, first you're going to drive like maybe 15, 20 kilo. I'm like, what the hell is a kilo, bro? Okay, I don't know what a kilo is. Okay, I grew up in America. How many miles is that? I don't know the conversion. Is that like 500 miles? I don't know what you're talking about. And then you're going to drive down and you are going to see a tree, very big tree, okay, big tree, okay? Then you're going to take a right. Then you're going to go maybe like, I don't know, 5, 6 stop sign, maybe 7, I don't know. I don't really stop. Okay, then you are going to take a left and you're going to drive down and then you are going to see a house. In front of the house, going to be a black BMW, white Mercedes. That is my house. That's how we tell people who we are. That's how we describe people. What kind of car does he drive? Do you know? Yeah. Do you know Rashad Dabagh? No, I don't know Rashad Dabagh. Who? Rashad Dabagh. He works for the Arab American Civic Council. No, I don't know him. No, Rashad Dabagh. He has a brother Ahmed, another brother Shadi. No, I don't know who Rashad Dabagh. Rashad Dabagh. He drives a red Range Rover. Oh yeah, Rashad. Why don't you say Rashad from the beginning?
Prius.
Oh, you're Prius because you're in California. But if you were in, you'd be driving a Range Rover like a real Arab. Okay, Prius. We are different people. We are different people. And I know we're not white. I know we're not white because I watch the news. They're just, they don't treat us like they treat white people on the news. They have different, words for white criminals: disturbed, deranged, delusional, depressed. All these nice D words they use for white people, just not for us. They have different words they use for us. What's the word they use for us? Come on, the T word.
Terrorist.
That's right. See? They were afraid to say it because they know who's watching. By the way, I want to welcome everyone who's watching around the world in Anaheim and all the uninvited guests from the FBI, the CIA, and the Mossad. We welcome you to our party. Thank you for joining us today. Yeah, ahlan wa sahlan. Yeah, of course. We'll see you on Brookhurst. But yeah, they don't call us these names on the news. Okay, they have different words they use for us. Terrorists. They also have another word that they love to use for us, and that word is mastermind. We're always masterminds. For some reason, being Arab or Muslim makes you very smart. We're always a mastermind, no matter what the crime is. Like there was the guy in Las Vegas. Remember him? He planned his crime. He took like 10 suitcases into the hotel room, and then he shot everybody, killed like 60 people. And the next day on the news, they said he liked country music. Okay, that was the headline about that guy. And then there was Dylan Roof in South Carolina. He pretended to pray with black people for an hour, and then he killed them all. He told the police he wants to start a racial war. And the next day, the senator from South Carolina said he's just a little crazy, Okay. Mm-hmm. And then there was the guy in Atlanta 2 weeks ago, killed all those Asian Americans. We know it was a hate crime, and the cops said he had a bad day. Remember that? He had a bad day. Then there was one of us. 2 years ago in New York City, he rented a van in his own name. Okay, all right. Then he drove down the street, ran over 10 people, jumped out of the van with a fake gun, and the police shot him and they arrested him. And CNN said they have caught the mastermind. This guy's not a mastermind, all right? He's an idiot. We have idiots just like everybody else, okay? We have idiots, disturbed, deranged, delusional, depressed people just like everybody else, okay? I mean, it's terrible. And now we have this Arab American Heritage Month, and it's great. It's great, but I just hope that doesn't mean, listen, I hope Arab American Heritage Month doesn't mean that a lot of white people start going out and getting their ancestry test, and then when it comes back like 10% Middle Eastern, they start thinking that they can come to Arab American Heritage Month, okay? It doesn't work like that, all right? Because I know that's what they're going to do, all right? Because, you know, white people, they want to be something. You know, they want to be something. Because, you know, being white's kind of boring, and they forgot where they came from anyway. And so they just, you know, they want to be something. And you've seen these ancestry commercials before. I mean, you've seen them before. It's like the craziest thing ever. You ever see these commercials? Jeanine, have you ever seen these Ancestry.com commercials before?
I have seen. It actually inspired me to get one.
Oh, no, listen. I don't know if you're Palestinian. Arabs in general. Okay, Palestinians, we don't need the Ancestry.com test, okay? We're related to Jesus, and that's all that matters, okay? Jesus is one of us. That's the whole ancestry pie. Nothing else matters. He's the most famous man in the history of the world. His mom is the most famous woman in the history of the world. And no, he didn't look like Brad Pitt, all right? He looked like Muhammad Hadid, okay? That's what he looked like. Or he looked like a DJ Khaled minus 200 pounds, okay? That's what Jesus looked like, all right? He didn't look like all these white people that you put on the news, all right? But we don't need these Ancestry.com, please. I've had enough of these commercials. It's for white people because they want to be, you know. Have you seen them before? They get on. Our whole life, we thought we were German. And then I took my Ancestry.com test, and I found out that we're 24% Italian. And now we go to the Olive Garden and we eat spaghetti. You know, it's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. There's this one Ancestry.com commercial where there's this white lady standing there, and she says, I took my Ancestry.com test, and what surprised me the most is I found out that I'm 26% Native American. I had no idea. All right. Now listen, I don't have a PhD in biology or genetics or anything like that, but 26%, that's a lot. Okay, that's like a whole grandma. All right, like that's a whole teta or jiddo. Like I know where my teta and jiddo are from. All right, I know where my teta's teta is from. All right, she had no idea. And let me tell you something, by the way, if you're white and your grandmother's Native American and they didn't tell you, that's not a good story. All right, something really bad happened in your history. I'm waiting for the Ancestry.com commercial where somebody is happy to find out that they're Arab. You know, I don't think you're ever going to see that commercial. I'm waiting for that commercial. Can you imagine? Our whole life, we thought we were Puerto Rican. And then I took my Ancestry.com test. And what surprised me the most is I found out that we're 27% Arab. And now we go to the airport early. You know, no. I am not interested in any of that. And let me tell you, I've been to Anaheim a lot. I love it down there. And I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like most of the people down there are Palestinian. And, you know, let me just say something a little bit here about Palestine. We are the most resilient people on the planet. We work very hard. We work really hard. Palestinians, they don't just work in the garage, they own the garage. They don't just work in the hospital, they're the chief of staff of the hospital. I mean, this is what we do, okay? We just work very hard. And people always ask me, why do Palestinians work so hard? And I tell them it's because, you know, we don't have plan B. You know, we're a bunch of refugees and we can't like fail and make it and go back home. It doesn't work like that for us. We got to make it work. And we do. We do. And we work very hard and we never go on vacation. And people say to me, why don't Palestinians go on vacation? I tell them it's very simple. We don't like to leave our house for more than 2 or 3 days. Okay. I mean, we remember what happened last time we did that. And so we don't want to do that again. We are a different kind of people, us Palestinians and us Arabs in general. And let me also say this, since we're here dispelling stereotypes during Arab American Heritage Month. If you watch the news, people think that Arabs and Jews hate each other and they lie on the news. They say, oh, these Arabs have been fighting these Jews for hundreds of years. None of that is true. Okay? It's just not true. And especially when it comes to Palestinians, they think we hate Jews. This is not true. Okay? If there's any white people or Jewish people watching, please send a mass email. I don't know how you do it, how you communicate with us. Tell them, we don't hate Jews. We have a complicated relationship, okay? I mean, like, you know, 73 years of occupation can make things a little complicated, okay? But we don't hate anybody. In fact, in Arabic, we call Jews Ulad Amna, which means our cousins. Mm-hmm. And we mean it. You know, we're the children of, well, they're the children of Isaac. We mean it. They're Ulad Amna. And we're really very similar, okay? Big nose, crazy mom, hairy. This is men and women, hairy. And the only difference is they are chosen by God and we are chosen by the FBI. That's the only difference. Well, before I leave, and by the way, when an Arab says before I leave, that means there's another 45 minutes. But anyway, before I leave, I mean, just so you know. All right, it takes us 45 minutes.
The State Department.
Huh?
Did you see the State Department's tweets today?
Which one?
About recognizing Arab American Heritage Month.
I saw the tweet. Yes.
So did the FBI do the same or not yet?
I don't know, but I don't know. This tweet is nice. I mean, they're recognizing Arab American Heritage. Maybe this will make the bombs they drop feel a little lighter. Maybe everyone will just feel a little better when the bombs drop on us. Okay. I mean, you know, I'm much more, I love that, you know, they're doing Arab American Heritage Month. That's nice. You know, stop dropping bombs. That would be better. You know, that would be I would rather that, you know, treat us like human beings. Maybe that would be a little bit better. You know, you know, anyway, thanks for getting us all on a list, Rashad. I really wasn't expecting that we were going to get into that, but, you know, now we're all on another list. So great. You made me talk about that. You know, I don't know. But let me say this before I go. Let me say this. We Arab Americans, especially those of us who grew up here, like, you know, looks like Jeanine, you grew up here, and what's your name? Are you Deanna or Jeanine? Who are you?
I'm Jeanine.
Jeanine, you grew up here. I can tell from your voice. I think Rashad is like sort of grew up here. I can't really tell. You know, Iyad just got here. That's clear. Okay, it's clear from his accent that he hasn't been here very long at all. Okay, I mean, I heard him introducing me, and when I listened to him introducing me, it was a linguistic struggle. Okay, I mean, it was just getting through, and like, and look, listen, I've always learned when someone has an accent, that means that they speak more languages than you. So it means they're very smart, but it's just I love watching our people just try to make it through, because listen, let me tell you what Iyad is doing so everyone understands. He's saying it in Arabic in his head, and then he's translating it in English, and then it's got to make it out of his mouth. And that takes a long time. Okay, that's not easy. And he did a great job. For us who grow up here,
you have to give me credit. I did not mix up my P's and B's.
Well, actually, you did. I mean, I know that you think you did, okay? But you did say my pleasure. Okay? You said my pleasure, and I wasn't going to say anything. But, listen, Iyad, I want you to know, as a brother, I love you. I believe that you did not mix up your P's and P's, okay? I believe that. But I just want you to know, it was a little bit different for us. And this is, some of you that listen, I love you all, but some of these Arabs, they've come to some of them been here 40, 50 years, and they're still saying a P for B, and they're still look, you can't walk around saying salt and pepper for 40 years, all right? It's embarrassing to the rest of us, okay? You have to learn how to speak English. You can't walk around saying America is the best country in the world, okay? World, that's not how you say it. Okay? I know that's how it looks, and English is a hard language. You can't do that, okay? We have people been here 40 years going Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, okay? I know that's how it looks, but that's not how you say it, okay? It's not how you say it. English is a hard language. And yes, P and B, we don't have a P in the Arabic language. Pa, we don't say it. We are the Palestinian people. We like to drink Pepsi and eat pizza with no pepperoni. All right, this is the way we talk. And when I was a kid, I wanted to fit in with the white kids, so I played baseball. Okay, I played baseball, fit in with the white kids, and I was pretty good. And my dad would come to my games, but Arabs, especially immigrants, they don't understand baseball. I bet you if you tried to ask Iyad right now about baseball, he has no idea about baseball. Okay, he doesn't know the rules about baseball because, Arabs, they don't understand baseball. And Iyad will tell you what every Arab says when you ask them about baseball. They all have the same answer. They say, it's stupid. It's stupid. Because they don't understand it. So anytime an Arab doesn't understand something, he says, "Oh, that's stupid, stupid game." And my dad would come to my games, and because he wants to support me, but he doesn't know anything. Arabs only understand one sport. That one sport is soccer, football. Everyone understands that sport. My dad understands that sport. My dad said to me when I was a kid, he said, "Amer," because he used to come to my baseball games and he would say the wrong stuff. Goal, touchdown, all this stuff. It was really embarrassing. So I said to him, Baba, listen. And he would say to me, he said, Amer, Habibi, I understand soccer. Okay, soccer, very easy. Here there is goal, and you kick the ball in the ball. Okay? I understand hockey. You push that little thing into the goal. Okay, I understand basketball. You throw the ball into the goal. Okay, but baseball, where is the goal? Okay, and I had to explain to him. I said, Baba, it's very simple. Okay, you stand here and you hit the ball, and then you run here, then you run here, then you run here, then you run back here, and when you get back here, it's called a run. It's called it's like a point. It's kind of like a goal. That's how baseball works. And he said, so you are already standing in the goal? Okay, this doesn't make sense. He goes, why would you run everywhere and just come back to where you are? This doesn't make sense to a refugee, by the way. Why would you just run in a big circle and come back where you are? So he used to come to all my baseball games, and he would come with his friends, and they're smoking cigarettes, and they all have big mustaches, and they're speaking Arabic like it looks like a terrorist meeting, and they're sitting at my nice white suburban place, and they're having this meeting, and they're talking about, and they're saying the wrong stuff, and it's embarrassing. So on the way home one day from one of my baseball games, I said, Baba, listen, thank you for coming to the game, really, but I need you guys to learn about baseball because this is embarrassing. Okay, you're saying the wrong stuff, and it's really embarrassing to me. And my dad said, no problem. My dad's a PhD. He said, no problem. I will learn. And he went home. He bought a baseball book and he read it. And all of his friends read it and they learned about baseball. And they came to my next game and they cheered for me for 2 hours correctly. Correctly cheered for me for 2 hours. But on the way home, I had to have a little talk with them. I said, guys, thanks for coming to my game. I really appreciate it. But it's pronounced pitch. Nice pitch. Beautiful pitch. Smack the pitch. It really didn't look good. All right, they sounded like the Wu-Tang Clan. All these guys at my baseball game. So before I go, let me tell everybody: please support the Arab American Civic Council. Give them money because they need it. Because they didn't give me any money tonight. So please make sure that you give them money. No, I'm very happy to volunteer for the Arab American Civic Council, especially this is a tough world. And in all seriousness, if we don't stick together during times like this, and if we don't look out for each other, then who's going to do it for us, especially as Arab Americans? So we all need to stick together. We all need to work for each other. We all need to make sure that we're supporting our community organizations like the Arab American Civic Council. And please support them and come down to Anaheim if you're anywhere in the country and you're watching this. Come and support their businesses down on Brookhurst in Anaheim as well. And to all the Arabs that are out there, let me say, stay proud of who you are, especially this month, but every month. Stay proud of who you are, because I see some of you out there, you change your names for white people, like Muhammad becomes Mike, Jamil becomes Jimmy, Hassan becomes Sam, Hussein becomes Sam, Samir becomes Sam, Samir becomes Sam, right? There's a lot of Sams. Too many Sams. We don't need any more Sams. Don't change your name, okay? We have to learn their names. They have to learn our names. Be proud of who you are, okay? Some Arabs think if they name their kids Samantha or Angela, it's going to help her in life, okay? Your name is still like Angela Iyad Abdurrahim, okay? It doesn't help you, but they think it's going to help her in life. Please don't change your names. Be proud of who you are. We have to learn their names, okay? Mason, Madison, Brittany, Whitney, Taylor, Tyler. That's a lot of confusing shit to learn. We have to learn their names. They have to learn our names. So don't change your names out there at all. If your name is Muhammad, be Muhammad. If your name is Jamil, be Jamil. If your name is Fatima, be Fatima. If your name is Jihad, well, BJ, because we have enough problems. We're trying to make it in this country. All right, everybody. I love you. Have a good night. See you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Amer. The only thing in our contract was that you don't pick on me. So thank you for not picking on me. Okay, so that was awesome. And this evening has been really, really inspiring. So thank you, Linda. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Lara. And of course, thank you, Amer. I want to give a shout out to everyone who made this event happen. By the way, don't forget to donate. We really need your help. We really need your support. Jeanine, especially, thank you so much. Zina, our board of directors, Ra'ad, Dina, Iyad, Johanna, and Kareem, and our sponsors, Comerica Bank and Dr. Jallo, and everyone who has supported us today and throughout the past few years. Before we end, I want you to think about Jeanine and Jeanine and how it is important that we build the capacity to have more young leaders like them, and how with your donations, with your support, we can hopefully create a full-time position so that we can multiply our impact over the years. We all heard Lara speak today about the Save Ethnic Studies campaign. We need to have the capacity to support that work so that our children, our grandchildren can learn about Arab Americans when they are in high school. If you already donated, thank you. I urge you to double that amount. And if you haven't, what are you waiting for? I want to thank the folks that donated today. There's many of you guys. Sarah, Linda Sarsour actually did the donation. Thank you so much, Linda, for donating as well. Iyad, Mary, Khaled, Dina, Monica, Johanna, Hani, Felicity, Esti, Justin, Adib, and so many others. Thank you so much. Keep them coming. We really need your support. With that being said, thank you, everyone. We'll see you in a few days on Instagram Live to announce the winners of the opportunity drawing. One of them will be Linda Sarsour's book. So a signed copy of her book will be also, you'll have a chance to win that, as well as the other thing that Jeanine mentioned. So to be eligible for being part of the opportunity drawing, you must donate. Doesn't matter how much. Support us. Thank you so much. Happy Arab American Heritage Month, and have a good night, everyone.